leader is not there and things are not going the way they should be, and you quickly need to take up that role and become that team player and team leader at that particular point. So how can you be this leader who has maybe never led before, who is coming direct from being a team member, and now hey, how can you become a confident person, and you can be influential, and even whatever you communicate to your team members, how can they even trust the process and trust the directions that you're giving them as though they were being given by the team leader themselves. So that's what we are going to be called today. And we hope by the end of this webinar today, we'll be better leaders, especially for those who are leaders at the moment. For those who are just but team members, you are able to know the way to go about it when such a time comes. And even when such a time when you will now be crowned as a team leader, how would you lead the team? How would you do it, and how would you make it better? So this training is brought to you by ACCUREX. ACCUREX, we are a HR consulting company and a training company. We have a number of services from recruitment, from payroll management, offshoring, labor outsourcing, and we have the people HRIS. So we bring these webinars every Wednesday from 11 to 12:15. So the structure of this webinar is very simple. The first 1 hour we'll have the trainer will just take us through the entire training, and then we'll leave about 15 minutes for question and answers and any other engagement that there may be. But definitely it can take between an hour and an hour and 15. So we hope that you'll hold still until such a time. So then we would like you to, one, be quite interactive. We just want you to interact with the trainer of the day. You know him, he has ever done this before, you liked him, and due to public demand, he's back with a great topic today. So Stephen Oko is our trainer for the day, and I hope you will give him an easy time. I hope you'll ask him as many questions as possible. I hope you'll interact with him. If you have any question, maybe you can raise your hand. He's able to give you a chance to speak, even in between the training. If you think you are better off just typing your question, you can do that with the chat box, and we'll be sure to respond to your questions. Then along the way, we'll have the a link for feedback link, so whereby you can just make any comment, any suggestion, how the webinar was. If you need a certificate, you're able to be given that through by filling that feedback form. So I hope you're able to grab maybe a cup of coffee, a cup of water, because this topic is a great one, and Stephen is able to deliver that. So over to you, Stephen. I hope you are ready to take over the show.
Yeah, thank you for the introduction, and yeah, I also want to take this opportunity to welcome all of my colleagues in this webinar. And yeah, this is a very interesting topic. Leadership. I'm passionate about leadership, and any topic that has an anytime I find an opportunity to discuss topics on leadership, I'm always very, very excited. And this is going to be a conversation. We are going to have this conversation together because I know we are either leading teams or we are team members. And and yeah, somebody might be leading a team and they lack the principle of leading a team, or somebody might be a team member but they have the principle of leading a team. If I can connect that to last webinar, which was done by Speaker John, yeah, we had a discussion about a team member who is potentially brighter than the boss, and and then we were not able to find when do we get to get involved as team members without naturally disappointing our bosses. And so this webinar today, or this training, we are going to delve into how we are able to acquire or use our skills to position ourselves as leaders even without authority. um, so welcome, feel free to interact with me during the session. Feel free to ask your questions, put your questions in the chat, so that we can have a very interactive session. Yeah, so having said so, let's jump right into it. Um, so the topic is becoming a team member, from a team member to a team leader. So leading with or without authority. And these are the sessions for these are the objective for these sessions. So we are just going to understand the role of the third leader, because that's where we all want to be. Yeah. We also want to understand or develop clarity in leadership without the formal authority. Yeah. So we're also going to cultivate some of the key behaviors of influence that will position us as leaders. And also we are going to see how we can enhance collaboration and ownership within our teams. And lastly, we will look at how we can bridge the gap between team members and the team leader. Yeah, so allow me to introduce this system. So every leader has systems of operations that they need to have, or they have. Yeah. So as a team member, it could be you have the systems already, but you lack that authority to use the system within your team. Yeah. But if you are a team leader, you could be lacking the system. It is also very important that you learn the leader system, operating system. How do we become the third leader? So the leader operating system has three core principles, that is clarity, alignment, and movement. So in this session, because it's a series, it's a program that takes maximum of 4 weeks. So we'll be discussing each of these principles in bits. Yeah, so this session is only dedicated to clarity. So we'll go through clarity in depth so that we can understand how we can uh, provide clarity within our team, so that our team can achieve success. Um, let's start with a reflection from where you work or in your past work experience. And we are going to protect names here. We are not going to mention names. I want us to discuss this. Who is the worst leader you have ever had? Who is the worst leader that you have ever had? So think of someone you rank as your worst boss. Yeah? Why were they worst? And how did their leadership patterns affect the team? And how did their leadership patterns affect results? So at this point, I'm encouraging interactions, and let's share our responses. You can unmute and speak, but let me hear from you. Who was the worst leader? Why were they worst? How did that affect the team and the results of the team? Mhm. Who was the Okay? Ben Dacha says you dealt with one who wasn't a listener, a Mr. Know It All. That's interesting, huh? Let me hear some of your responses. You don't have to mention names. So, who was the worst leader? How did their leadership patterns affect the team, and how did that eventually affect your results as a team? Let me hear more responses. Uh-huh. Jane says one who does not take team's sentiment and assume everything is okay. Thank you for the for the contribution. That one says is the ultimate. Yeah, the final answer sits with him. So whatever sentiment that you bring forth doesn't matter. Okay. Another one, if ever says, I dealt with one who had no emotional intelligence. Yeah, there's some leaders who do not understand. Yeah, they cannot read emotions within the team. Yeah, there was one who really was abusive with what toward junior staff. Morris says so. Yeah, the people who just use big words and abusive words towards their junior staff. Yeah, I remember I worked with one who said to a team member that you are being paid for nothing. Yeah, you are being paid for nothing. Um, yeah, so we have worked with in one way or the other. We have interacted with such leaders who we label them the worst in our lives, corporate lives, and in there are so many effects. There are so many effects. You can share them in the chat as well. Yeah, demotivation. The staff are not motivated anymore. Yeah, like the one that I was given an example, who was told that you are being paid for nothing. That staff was demoralized, started crying, and opted to resign. Yeah. So there are so many negative effects of having the worst leader in a team. Allow me to move on. Let's look at some of the two most common leadership patterns that you have likely seen throughout our careers. So the first one is the first leader, and then the second one is the second leader. So I want us to look at some of the characters that distinguish these two leaders. So starting with the first one, so the first leader is the leader who struggles to create clear priorities. Yeah, I've seen this happen. Yeah, where a team member says that I don't understand my objective, I don't understand my key results. Can you help me please understand? Yeah, my key results. Yeah, this is also a leader who is slow to make decisions. There's some decisions that take too long or even never get to be made. Yeah, there's some leaders who this is a leader who has poor management of conflicts. There's constant conflict within the team. Yeah, leading even to resignations, frustrations of team members. This is also a leader who wants to keep everyone happy. Yeah, they want to keep everyone happy. You are underperforming, but the leader keeps telling you that, oh, I know you'll do well. I know you'll do well next month. I know you just want to keep everyone happy. Yeah, that's the character of a first leader. So as a result, the team is often frustrated by the lack of urgency and the slow rate of change because decisions are not being made. There's no support. There's confusing priorities. Yeah. So then this leads to frustration of team members. So this kind of a leader, we refer to this leader as the people pleaser. Yeah. That's the first leader. The second leader is the one who, for him or for her, everything is urgent and very, very important. Yeah? They create conflicts and micromanage every process. Yeah, I've worked with a leader who will give you a certain task and then will want to know on a daily basis how you are doing this task, what are you doing at this particular point. So that is micromanagement. Yeah, so they only care about the final objective. They don't want to care about like what are you struggling with, how can you get from point one to point A. Yeah, but instead they just micromanage what you are doing. Yeah, so as a result, the team gets worn down by the internal fightings, constant urgency, and lack of alignment. Yeah, because the leader is just glued to the objective. Yeah, the team leaders the team members do not understand how they need to get to the objectives. Yeah, so now this gets them worn down, and there's that internal conflict. Yeah, the team leader is always like, I want this to be done by this particular time. Sometimes they don't even care how you're going to get there. So this kind of leader, these are the leaders we refer to as the general, or sometimes I hear people call them commanders. Yeah. So these are things that we need to look keenly so that we can position ourselves to be that leader that can make a team effective. Yeah. So we try to avoid to be the people pleaser. Also, we avoid to be the general. Yeah. So I just want us to listen to a story here that will help us also understand better the distinctive between the two leaders. So as we hear the experience of these two leaders, consider how they mirror your own. Yeah? What have you experienced working with the pleaser or the general? So I'll play a short clip. Okay.
When we first met Patty, she had been in her senior executive role for about 6 months. She asked us to interview her team about her performance. All of her direct reports told us how exceptional Patty was. She was warm, caring, approachable, smart, and extremely qualified. Everyone loved Patty. But there was one thing that we heard over and over again that was driving the team crazy. They said she needs to make decisions. We tell her our thoughts, we tell her things that really matter, but she won't provide any sense of her vision or set a direction for the team. Now, Patty's a classic pleaser. She's well liked, but lacking a clear set of priorities or vision. Everyone feels heard, but longs for decisions to be made with greater urgency. Okay, here's a different example. Team that reported to Bruce felt differently about him. Bruce was a seasoned executive who had been in his role for several years. He worked for a Fortune 50 company. Bruce had been tasked with standing up an area of the business now generating more than $1 billion in revenue. What he built was nothing short of remarkable. But at a meeting in Dallas, Bruce and his peers were exchanging feedback about how they could be better aligned. Bruce's peers didn't hold back. They talked about how hard it was to collaborate with Bruce. They said he seemed uninterested in the perspective of the other executives and that he made decisions in a vacuum. After hearing their feedback, Bruce responded by saying, "Look, the friction I create is healthy. It's needed in this business. It's good for there to be some tension." And as soon as he said that, it was as if oxygen had just been sucked out of the room. Shoulders sank, faces stared at the floor, heads nodded in disbelief. One executive said to us quietly, "He's clueless. I just cannot work here anymore." She had tears in her eyes. Now, clearly, Bruce was a general. He delivers results, but he damages engagement, trust, collaboration, and honest dialogue. But we all naturally gravitate towards being the pleaser or the general. Now, both have advantages and disadvantages. Our objective during this course is to manage that and shift towards a third approach.
Yeah. So
when we first met Patty, she had been.
That is a story of two managers. One was inclined to be a pleaser, the other one was inclined to be a general. But let's come back to our own, let's mirror our own experience. Yeah. So what have you experienced working with the pleaser or the general? Let's share our experiences working with the leaders who possess these two kind of characteristics. So what have your experience working with the pleaser or general looked like? You can share your responses on the chat again so that you can let's have the conversation. What was your experience? If you worked with the people pleaser, what was the experience? And if you worked with the general, what was the experience? I just want to hear some responses and some experiences from the team, so that you can get to understand these two different characters better and see the impact.
Hi everyone. I believe to me, in regards to the question, what have you experienced working with a pleaser or a general? I believe at the end of the day, this person cannot be in a position to push you identify yourself.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, it's like you cannot be in a position to stretch yourself and close on the gaps you have, because at the end of the day, no one is telling you the gaps you have, and no one is ready to support you in regards to the gaps. So at the end of the day, you'll just be like, somebody is just lying to you just to please you,
Yeah.
and just to, it's like to create that given relationship.
Yeah.
But in regards to realizing yourself and making you grow in regards to your career and in regards to your job, sometimes it becomes hard.
Spot on. Thank you, Violet. That is very true. If you work with a people pleaser, and then be ready, like you'll never discover yourself. This is somebody who will not even tell you about your weakness, where you need to improve. So you'll remain where you are with no improvement. Yeah, so that is spot on. And any other response? Any other contribution? Gloria says that you learn the need to balance your pleaser characteristics and the general characteristics and working to improve. Interesting, yeah? Another response? So, from my experience, working with a general leads to a lot of frustrations. Sometimes you feel inadequate because the leader is constantly on you, like you are underperforming. There's no clear directions, so sometimes you feel even inadequate to perform your tasks. Yeah. So there are lots of experiences that we have with the two types of. To relate with the topic that we're having today, from a team member to a team leader, to position yourself as a leader, we need to move from these two characteristics. I like that the fact that Gloria says that you're trying to balance the two. Yeah. Joan says, please, I can lead you to being overworked, especially where they are unable to ruffle feathers within the team. That is true, spot on. So for us to position ourselves as leaders, we need to start embodying the characteristics of the third leader. Yeah? Because naturally, most of us show up to either to the people pleaser or the second leader. But the goal is to become the third leader. Yeah. So how do we become the third leader? By installing the leader operating systems into our workflow. And the leader operating systems is guided by the three core principles that we're going to discuss. We are going to measure on clarity today, but the three core principles of having the leader operating system within our workflow is clarity, alignment, and movement. So clarity basically means that you are creating and defining and reinforcing the team key results. Yeah. And then alignment basically means that you don't settle for awareness. You create a united action within the team. And then movement basically means that you identify the perceptions that hinder actions within your teams or hinder growth or achieving of the team's objectives. So the third leader, or rather the characteristic of the third leader that you need to have is, number one, you need to create clarity. Yeah, you need to be able to create clarity by defining the key results and reinforcing them to the team members constantly. Yeah. Apart from clarity, you should be able to build alignment by making sure that the results are achieved. And how do we do this? You position every team member in the team so that they are able to help the team achieve the results. You encourage everybody to collaborate. You encourage everybody to take ownership, to get involved, so that the team achieves the team objectives. And the third principle is the movement. So the third leader should be that one who understands that team perception inhibits movement, and they work to change those perceptions. Yeah. I remember there's a time back when I was just promoted to a supervisor for a group of schools. And when I went to that territory, enrollment of pupils were low in those schools. And so when I sat with my team members, I asked them if we could do activations in the market, yeah, where parents go to shop for household items and food stuff and all that. And then one of them told me that we tried that before, it never worked. But I thought that why could we do it differently this time? Because I still believe that that was a perception that was hindering the movement, and the movement in this case was to achieve enrollment for these schools. So I told them we can do it differently and we'll see the result. Instead of getting a speaker and trying to talk to people in the market using a speaker, why can't we just do an activation by putting a stand somewhere, displaying our learning materials, our visuals of our classrooms, our learning materials, uniforms, and everything. And this will attract parents, and this will attract crowds. And so the crowd that are attracted, we can have a conversation with them about our value proposition, what our learning experience is. Yeah, and we tried that, and it worked. And I think in that term, we achieved the highest enrollment, higher than any other territory. So it worked. So a third leader should be able to understand this team perception, and then you change them. Yeah. So if you become a third leader and you embody these three principles, then your team will feel inspired. They will inspired. They will feel focused and empowered. Yeah, because you have already created that ownership. So every team member is aligned. Yeah. So we all agree that anyone can become the third leader. Yeah, but anyone can become the third leader only with the right system in place, and those are the systems that we are talking about here. Yeah, having that clarity, having the alignment and movement. Yeah. So let's talk about clarity. Yeah? And so clarity is creating key results, defining these key results, and reinforcing them to the team. Yeah? So let's look at a scenario here. Assume you're in this situation. What will you do to walk in a straight line? And the scenario is there's a group of researchers at a scientific institution that were given a challenge. Yeah. So you are one of them. You are with the team. Now, these researchers, they were told that they will be paid $10,000 per person, yeah, if they can guide their team from a starting point to a finish line, 5 miles away. So I want you to put yourself in this situation. How will you get this 10,000? You are there with your team. Your goal is to guide them from a starting point to a finish line, which is 5 miles away. The starting point is in a forest, and the sun is behind the clouds. So that will mean it is dark. Yeah, the terrain is flat, and you don't have any navigation tools. What strategies will you use to get your team to the destination? And I want us to share. What strategies will you use to get your team from the starting point to the destination? Remember, the sun is behind the clouds. You don't have any navigation tools. And the price is, if you are able to do so, you will get $10,000 once you get your team to the finish line. What strategies will you use? Let me hear from you. What strategies will you use? You can unmute and speak. You can put your answers in the chat. I'll be happy to read them. Mhm. How will you get your team from point A to the finish line, or point B in this situation?
Anyone? Anyone?
You want to try?
Even if just one.
Even if it's just one, yeah. In an adult learning setup, every answer is correct. So first, identify direction to the destination. Gloria says so. Anyone else? How will you get a team from starting point to the finish line to earn the $10,000? Liz Njeri says, communicate on what is required and let the team give their input. Anybody else? Alexandra? Alexander?
I would talk with my team,
Mhm.
find out if there is anybody with any navigation knowledge, how to navigate through the forest. Offer that person the opportunity to lead the team if there is one to lead us through the forest.
Mhm.
I would also maybe motivate everybody and offer to share a portion of the reward money to keep everybody motivated.
Exactly. Spot on. Yeah. So John says you start by discussing with the team and listen to other people's perspectives. Identify strength of the people and who can do what. That is also correct. Yeah. So you have to talk with the team, involve everyone. And I like the fact that you are saying that you identify the people with the navigation skills so that you can include them. Yeah. And you brainstorm first, you make things clear, you make the objective clear to everyone. This is where we are going, and anybody who has anything to contribute to make sure that the team achieves this success is welcome. So that is also a good approach. Yeah, Washington says brainstorm with the team members and motivate them to execute. Spot on. Yeah. So many of us naturally find ourselves in this kind of a situation. And there's a research that was done by Max Planck, and they say that typically people walk in circles when they lack visual guideposts. And they also confirm that people need a simple navigational tool like a compass or a GPS when navigating unfamiliar terrains. But I like the fact that you people are also bringing in the aspect of teamwork. Yeah, that you pick somebody who has navigation skills to help you get to that destination, and also share the rewards at the end. Yeah. So that is how naturally we are. But now let's reflect to our workplaces where we work. I know we have a tendency of walking in circles in our workplaces. So this might be caused by conflicts of self-interested choices or poor results due to slow decision making. So it is natural. Yeah, it is natural. So without a clear navigation tool or a guiding framework, teams often get stuck in a repetitive and productive circles. Yeah? So without any shared goals or alignment, individuals prioritize even personal agendas over team success, leading to tension and miscommunication. And sometimes even poor decision making. Yeah, could be decisions that take too long or decisions that never get made because there's no clear process of authority, yeah, or clarity. So this leads to poor results again and frustration within the team. So the problem is that without uh, precise results to achieve, teams don't move in a coordinated direction. Yeah. So what we need to work on is to identify the team key results, the objective in this case, to enable, to enable precise and deliberate and united effort from our team. So that is where we need to be. So allow me to introduce you to team key results. Yeah, I'm used to objective key results. Some are used to KPIs, but there's this term that guides the team. So team key results is used by leaders to set, track, and measure their most important objectives and outcomes. So where possible, they are created from the organization priorities. Yeah. So it has two parts. The first part is objectives. The second one is the metrics of performance. So objectives basically are the high level qualitative goals that a team sets to achieve. Yeah. So they are ambitious and they provide clear purpose and directions. But now, on the other hand, performance metrics, they're specific, they're quantifiable. Yeah? They signify progress towards achieving these objectives. So they serve as the concrete milestone. These are things, the wins, yeah, that you can count on to provide a way of evaluating the success towards achieving the objectives. So the objectives are the what we care about most, but the performance metric is how we measure our progress towards the objective. How can we say that we are going to achieve the objective? What are we doing? What are we achieving? Yeah. So take for example, if the team objective is to increase revenue growth, yeah. So increasing revenue growth, that will mean that your performance metric will be adding a number of customers, new customers. So you could say that our team key result will be to add 10 new clients to our core product sales compared to last year. Yeah. So this aligns to the objective. So this is the performance metric. We'll be adding 10 new clients to our core product sales compared to last year. Another example could be an objective like operations efficiency. So how do we achieve this objective? We can use a performance metric on percentage of manufacturing defect. And we say that as a team, we will have 50% reduction in manufacturing defects by implementing new quality control processes. So that is the performance metric that you use to achieve the objective for the team. So to do this, we need to embody these strategies or these techniques. So the first part is creating the team results, and then the second part is repeating these team key results and having a meeting every time to discuss these key results. So how do we create key results as a team? Yeah. So we start by defining the team key result from the organization priorities. So we can do this using two strategies. Number one, we can do a research of the organization priorities, or number two, we can do a research on the mission and the management and the metrics of the organization. So if we all agree that it will take a little research. So if your team needs clear results to align with, then this will mean that you need to research or determine the most important objectives. So it takes a little research. If your organization has already clearly defined objectives, then you need to research the organization's priorities. But if your organization has poorly defined objectives, then what you need to do is to do the research on the mission and the vision of the company. Yeah, the mission, the management, the metrics. That is where now you channel your research so that you can come with the team results. So the second technique will be RPM. So RPM simply means repeatable, purposeful, and measurable. So that will mean that you need to create a memorable format for faster recall of your key results. Yeah, make it repeatable. Make your team key results short, catchy, and easy to remember. And you'll use this as an example. For example, if your goal or your key result is to have 5 referrals per month, or improve profits by 10%, and reduce customer cancellations by 15%. You can make it memorable by using the digits 5, 10, 15. 5, 10, 15. So that whenever you mention 5, 10, 15 within your team or within your team members, they reflect back, they relate it to the key result, which means 5, we are going to have 5 revolver per month, and then 10 means we improve profit by 10%, and then 15 would mean reduce customer cancellations by 15%. So just find a way to make it memorable and make it short and catchy and easy to remember for the team. The second part of RPM is purposeful. So this will mean that you just ensure that the team key results connect with the organization's overall purpose, vision, and the mission. Because whatever you're doing as a team should be aligned to the strategic business strategic objective of the business. So ensure that your team key results connect with the organization's overall purpose, vision, and mission. Lastly, the last part of RPM is measurable. So your team key results should be specific and quantifiable. Yeah, they must be specific and quantifiable. So that will mean, for example, use a number that can quantify the key result. You would say, for example, 0 inventory cuts for missing parts, 99% on time shipments, or 100% customer satisfaction. So always have a number that quantify the key results. The last part of this technique is every meeting, every time. So that this means is that every meeting your team need to hold, every meeting that your team will hold, and every time you make a decision, your team key results should be deliberately involved. Yeah. I know there are people who hold many meetings, but in those many meetings, the team key result, or rather the key results, are never discussed. Yeah? So they say that you might have many meetings, or the number of meetings that doesn't count. What counts is what you discuss in those meetings, the outcomes. Yeah? So every meeting that you hold, ensure that your team key results are involved. Yeah, because consistency is the key. So you need to look for simple, consistent implementation of the team key results. So you can say, you can place the team key results on a physical meeting agenda every time you meet. Also, when you're making decisions or discussing problems with the team, you need to discuss situations that connect you with the team results. Also, during these meetings, have a member of the team to share a moment in their work that align with the exemplified the team, which aligns with the team key results. Have your team members also share some of the fallings out of the alignment with the team key results. What are they doing that is not aligned with the team key results? Yeah. As I was mentioning, that it's not the number of meetings that matter, but what you make out of the ones that you have. I was just talking to a colleague of mine, and he was saying that they do have meetings every day. On Monday, they have a meeting on futuristic, like you say what you are going to do during the entire week. On Tuesday, you have a strategy meeting. On Wednesday, you have a check-in meeting. They have a check-in meeting. On Thursday, I don't know which kind of a meeting they have. Then on a Friday, they also have another meeting to report what they were doing during the week. So it's not the number of meetings that matter, but what you make of the ones that you have. So just to remind that these are the principles and these are the skills that we need to achieve the team key results. Ensure that you define it clearly with the team, and then use the RPM method. Repeat it, and make it purposeful, and make it measurable. And then discuss the team key result in every meeting, every time. I'm going to share our last story. I'm going to play our last story here. And in this story, it's about a GM of a restaurant who worked hard to simplify complex corporate expectations. And I want us to relate with where we are. What can your team accomplish with this level of clarity? So allow me to play this clip, and then we'll share.
Several months before the surge of the COVID-19 pandemic, our team sat in a Chili's restaurant preparing for a client meeting the next morning. A young waitress greeted us and took our drink orders. When she returned with our drinks, we asked her if she knew her restaurant's key results, kind of a strange question. She smirked and kind of eyed us with some degree of suspicion, likely wondering if we were corporate spies from the restaurant support center or their headquarters. Then, with hardly any hesitation, she said, yeah, guest, profit, sales, and team. Now, having worked previously with Chili's executive team, we knew she was spot on. We then tried a second question. So how do you measure the guest experience? With even less hesitation than before, she said, well, that's our GEM score, guest experience measure. So now we're really impressed. She went on to explain their restaurant's target was a 65. And so far that week, they were tracking just 2 points shy of the goal. She then went on to talk about a concept she called team service, which was a simple strategy involving every employee in the front of the house where guests are seated. Each one of them was responsible for picking up dirty dishes and refilling empty glasses anytime they saw a need. All of it in an effort to deliver on their GEM score of 65. This simple exchange told us everything we needed to know about that restaurant's general manager. Had mentally worked through the complexity of restaurant operations to focus the team on clearly defined objectives. Your team will work for money, they will work harder for good leaders, but ultimately they will work hardest for a cause. That's it. Decades of social science research suggests that by connecting someone's day-to-day work with outcomes that matter, naturally increases engagement. It doesn't matter if your team's creating groundbreaking medicines, assembling fighter jets, or delivering baby back ribs. Humans have an innate yearning to contribute to something greater than themselves. A third leader can tap into that when they use simplicity to create clarity around what matters most.
Yeah. So so think of what you can accomplish with your team with this level of clarity. Yeah. For us to shift our mindset from becoming just a team member to becoming a team leader, yeah, we need to have this kind of level of clarity. Do your team understand the objective? Yeah. Do they carry it along with them every time? Yeah. Are you not being a police? Are you not being a general? Are you helping your team members to achieve their objectives? You don't need to be in a position of authority. You don't need to have a title to do so. But you can contribute to your team's success with this level of clarity. I sometimes have a conversation with some of my team members, and they come to tell me that, Steve, I don't understand these key results. Yeah, I don't understand this objective. Could you help me please make it clear? Could you make it clear for me? Yeah, and I find I was myself having a conversation with them, and we find out what we need to do, and I give that clarity. So you don't have to have the authority. You don't have to have titles. Yeah. You just have to have these characteristics of a leader, and you use them within your teams, yeah, and provide that clarity. Yeah. And then in the next part of this session, yeah, that we'll have at a later date, we'll talk about how do we align now everyone, how do we get everybody involved. After doing the clarity, after making sure that everybody is clear about the team key results, the objectives, how do we now align them? Yeah? How do we put them together to move and to achieve the team key results? Yeah. So I'd like to hear from you your feedback. What can your team accomplish if you have this level of clarity? Let us share our responses. What can your team accomplish with this level of clarity? Mhm. What can your team? Joan says efficiency and effectiveness in the achievement of the team goals. That is correct. Spot on. Any other contribution? You can unmute and speak. Yeah, team cohesion. Leila Paul says team cohesion. Yeah, the synergy of working together as a team, because everybody understands what they're supposed to do. Teresia says a sense of belonging to the team members. Yeah, spot on. Let me hear more. Sense of belonging to the team members. What else can you achieve with this level of clarity? Maureen says, yes, a self-driven team. Correct. Yeah, so there's a lot that we can achieve with this level of clarity. Simon says objective achievement at the right time. Yeah, correct. That is correct. Thank you. Inclusion. Catherine says inclusion. Correct. Yeah. Actually, a strong team is where everybody is able to provide solutions, because that's my typical definition of a leader. You should be able to provide solutions. You should be able to help your team achieve their key results. But if you have this quality, if you have the quality of being able to make things clear to your team members, then you're already there. You are already becoming a team member, because clarity is what most team leaders lack. Yeah, and that's why you will find that in a whole year, a team member has not even achieved half of their objective and the key results, because there was lack of clarity. So my parting shots to you is that let's embody the principle of clarity within our team members. Try to clarify, be in that position where you can even clarify your members' objectives as well, so that they can understand the team key results and their individual key results as well. At this point, this marks the end of my presentations. Feel free to ask your questions and also even add more suggestions if you have. Yeah, but thank you for listening. Thank you, ACCUREX, for giving me this an opportunity to have a conversation with my colleagues in this webinar today and discuss about how we can transition from team members to team leaders. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Steve, for that training. Indeed, I think you've touched quite pertinent areas that are affecting almost every one of us here. Because as we said when we were starting, you are either a team member or a team leader. And there's the graduation. By the end of it all, you can ideally even become a team leader. But now, how do you conduct yourself? How do you lead that team? At times, we are just ad hoc leaders. So maybe our leaders are maybe away on assignment, and we quickly need to step in and to act as a leader. So how do we learn from them, or how do we even enhance what our leaders are able to implement? So that was really enlightening. And I know in our scenario, because this part of the services that we do under HR consulting, whereby we do performance management, you've touched on a very key parameter that we use, which is the objective key result, because this happens especially to managers whose performance you can't really quantify. And even for other staff and employees, their performances at times you can't really quantify. Unlike for sales-driven team, whereby it's direct, like it's KPI, and you're able to quantify that. So this is very incredible, and that's something that we are really able to help set up a department and set up the KPIs, the OKRs for departments, for the organization, and even cascade them even to employees at their very level. So we'll be more than happy to engage any of us who is maybe struggling in that, and we can be able to set up that the performance management metric. Because remember, things like rewards, things like promotion, things like demotion, they are basically based on the performance that the employee has at the organization. So, and how do you keep it right? How do you make it right? How do you have it the way it should be? So, and at the same time, our system, People HRIS, has embedded the performance management module. So you're able to do all that performance management from a system perspective, and we're able to track on real time how each employee is contributing to the overall objective of the organization. So that's again another conversation that we really want to hear from you. We'll really want you to link us up or mention our names to an organization or a team leader who you think is really struggling in that. So this again brings us to an end of our webinar today. But before we do that, this is just again to remind us of this webinar series is brought to you courtesy of ACCUREX. We are a HR consulting company. We've been in the industry for 10 years now, and we couldn't be more happy of the milestones that we've gotten. And just a way of appreciating the further we've come, that's why this year we came up with webinar series just to support our clients, our prospects, and even just to share and to ensure that we have this knowledge trickled down to as many as you normally join us. So we have other services like general training at a corporate level. Just go to our website, see the number of trainings that we have. We do HR consulting, setting up a HR department, payroll management, recruitment. We're able to recruit for your organization. And again, we're able even to deploy a HR system for your organization, especially if you're struggling with maybe your current vendor, or maybe if you're using traditional ways of managing employees. So these are among some of the things that we're able to do. And we have all these webinars every other Wednesday. So look out what we have scheduled for you next week. And I hope we are able to connect at the same time. So again, on the other note is we have the feedback form. I will want to hear from you. We'll want to just need a certificate for this training. Just fill out that feedback form, and we're able to issue the certificates as and when we receive the actual names that you have. So in the meantime, before I conclude on my end, over to you, Stephen. We have a few questions here. One from Eric. How do we deal with the people? I think he meant people pleasers. So maybe you can respond to that.
Yeah, so that happens a lot. Yeah, that happens a lot. In our teams, you'll find that there's somebody who is an oppressor. Yeah? But of course, the first part of my response will be at work. We need to have a professional working relationship, and my advice is do not mirror the oppressor nature of your colleagues or your team leader if they have that characteristics. Just approach it respectfully, and also don't give up. Don't withdraw that because I'm being oppressed, I want to leave this team, or I want to. Don't. Just influence them with facts. Influence them with clarity. Be calm. Yeah, don't even resist, but discuss this, have this as an open conversation. Put your facts on the table, make them clear so that the other person can understand. Just have a basic ground where it works for all of you. Don't be confrontational, don't be disrespectful. Deal with fact and make it clear to them. Is there any other question? I think that answers your questions.
Maybe the other one is maybe more to us. So for the notes, we'll be able to share that as well. So just be sure to fill out the feedback form because some of these documents can only be shared based on the counts, number of people who have been able to fill out that feedback form. So I'm not really sure whether we have any other question. If we don't, here are our contacts. Be sure to visit us. Our offices are located at TRP Office Plaza, Modindi Road, that's in Westlands. So there is our contacts. You can drop us an email, you can contact us, you can call us. We're able to respond to as many queries as you can have. So if there is no further question, I think I will wish to bring this webinar to an end. And thanks again for everyone who has joined us today. And I believe that the webinar was resourceful and enlightening for you. And we hope that you're able to pass across this message to your team and be able to make your workplace a better workplace than it already is. So thank you so much and have a good afternoon. And
I have a question. Sorry, there's a question on the chat.
Sorry.
It's on the chat.
All right. Let me see. We have a question from. Let me see on the chat. Okay. All right. This is Liz. What do you do if you feel the boss is not taking action on an item that needs his input? So, Stephen, there is that question. Share the link for the feedback form. So maybe Jane, if you can hear me, you can just drop that link again so that they can fill it out. So Stephen, just respond to Liz's question, and then we'll take another question from Joyce, and then we'll bring it to a close.
Yeah, I've seen a question on the chat. If your boss does not respond to something that is urgent, that needs their input, number one is you need to approach your boss, or rather, you need to approach the leader and explain the impact of not responding, or rather treating this task with urgency. So you need to approach them and you need to have facts. What I'm saying is have facts. Yeah. So you need to tell your boss that we need this to happen, and if we continue to delay, this will be the impact or the negative impact to the business. So just make sure that they understand. So as much as we are always seeking clarity from our leaders, we also need to also seek to be understood by our leaders. Sometimes they delay, yeah, because they don't understand the impact of whatever you're trying to communicate, or whatever the activity you're trying to put across. So just make them understand. Have your facts, yeah. And I'll give you a real example. There was a training that I was to conduct about training of trainers, yeah, for our salespeople. So sales were going down. I didn't have enough trainers to train people, because we realized that sales were going down because people did not have the product knowledge. Yeah, so I didn't have enough trainers to train all the doors. I shared my proposal. It was taking time, and sales were still going down. So I went to my boss and the MD and explained that we need to have people trained on this particular product. And what is holding this is an approval of this training to happen. Yeah. So now the MD understood that actually people are not selling because they lack product knowledge. And it is urgent that we train them on those product knowledge. And we need people to train them. Yeah. So sometimes just have your facts right. Yeah. Make it clear to the leader, and also explain your the impact of not being of that whatever suggestion not being addressed in good time. Another question?
Great. Yeah, that's it from Liz. Then from Joyce, you asking whether we do free demos for people HRIS. Yes, for sure. We do free demos, and we'll be more than happy to connect with you. I'll like maybe you can just drop us a message, even if it's on WhatsApp. I can be able to connect with you after this, and we're able to take you through that. So, and anyone else, if you think you'll benefit from People HRIS, it's an end-to-end HR system from the time you hire to the time you separate with an employee. It's able to manage an employee through the employment cycle. So that's something that will be more than happy to connect and to take you through. So we have free demos, of course. We have free trials as well. You're able just to familiarize, play around, manipulate data with it, and see how its output looks like. So I don't know whether Joyce, you had any other question. I know that you had raised your hand, or that's the only question that you had. All right. So thank you so much. That's our contact, Joyce. Maybe you can just drop us a message, or you can contact us after this, and we're able to take you through the People HRIS system. So that's it. Thank you again, once again, for joining us today, and thank you for the insightful session that we had, and even for your participation. We really look forward to meeting you again on Wednesday, same time, same place. All the best. Thank you, and God bless.
Thank you. Bye.